Today we have an unboxing video of Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game by Asmodee. Hi, I'm Kevin Baker and you're watching Shangri-La, my YouTube channel for tabletop board games, birding, and other educational videos. Please like and subscribe. Well, I've been a fan of Lord of the Rings since I was a kid, and when one of my fellow board gamers pulled out this game and I offered to play it, I said, sure, let's give it a try. And it was a lot of fun, so I bought a copy of it for the FlaMinGoCon library, my own personal collection, loaned to FlaMinGoCon for your pleasure and fun. And now we do have the next FlaMinGoCon coming up in August 15th and 16th. Two-day event, that's number 32, bigger and better. The Embassy Suites Hotel in West Palm Beach, Florida, coming out for 27 hours of board gaming. Okay, let's check out Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, trick-taking game. Okay, so let's open this up. The journey begins. Step inside the legendary world of Middle-earth in the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. Work together to navigate the story of this cooperative card adventure, meeting new characters and completing special quests as you journey through the first book in the beloved Lord of the Rings series. So you're gonna play your cards carefully as a team to avoid the peril and advance through each exciting chapter, from the day you depart the Shire to the fateful breaking of the Fellowship. Okay, so there's features multiple game modes, dozens of familiar playable characters, and there's 144 cards, 5 tokens, 1 rule book, and a solo mode. So it's 1 to 4 players, 20 minutes, so it did move very fast. Ages 10 and up, so let's see what you get inside the box. That's the 1 rule book. I'll give that a read through. And then in the box, it's sectioned off very cleverly. Part 1, Part 2. No admittance on party business, except on party business. Proceed here after Chapter 1. Okay, Part 2. Keep it secret, keep it safe. Proceed here after Chapter 2. So I'm assuming that you get to open up this one first. And we'll open up these cards. So we have, this is chapter 13. Interesting. So we've got threat cards. We have some characters like Legolas, Gimli, and a mithril shirt. You know, you don't want to get stabbed. There's chapter 14. Then, let's see, the Long Dark, Balin's Tomb. And let's see, we've got Gandalf and a Balrog. Who doesn't want to have a Balrog? Okay, so we have different suits and more chapters. Breaking of the Fellowship. We've got Samwise and some Tooks and Aragon, Boromir, Legolas, and Gimli, and of course Sting, and Glamdring. So we've got a bigger sword. It's an elven sword. With the elven sword, you do not have to follow suit during the first trick. Okay, so that looks very interesting. What I will do now is give it a read through and see how it's played, and we'll figure it out for the next event. Okay, let's check out what's in the contents of part 1. So in here, we have the ring and some interesting tokens. I'll figure out what those are for. And we've got more cards. So Bill the Pony. And a Black Rider. Goldberry. Okay, so, and more chapters. And Sam. Can't have Lord of the Rings without Sam and Mary. Okay, those were in the part 1 section. In the part 2 section, we've got a third deck. And it has the chapter 1 card, which meant it was okay to open up the part 1 and part 2 sections because clearly you can't complete part 1 until you open up the contents of part 2. So that's interesting. So we've got very nice artwork, so that's quite nice. We've got Frodo. Frodo's goal is to collect the rings, which is challenging because in this game, the way we played it, you couldn't actually start one of the rounds with a ring until somebody had already played a ring because they couldn't play any other card. So that makes it a challenge for Frodo to collect the required number of tricks. Okay, now it has the setup for a 2-player game. You can actually stack the cards in a specific order so that the bottom row are available to be played. And we've got some nice player reference cards. And then we've got the actual deck. So all of the different suits. The suits being hills, mountains, that's a mountain. The Shadow Realm, the forest, and of course, rings. Those are the various suits in this game. So we'll figure out how all of that stacks together and gets prepared for the first chapter. Looking forward to figuring it out. Okay, now let's learn how to play Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. Now, as I learned in the unboxing, yes, there are 3 sections here, and this one has nothing, and this one says no admittance, and this one says keep it secret, keep it safe. You actually do need to open up all 3 of these sections during your unboxing, take out the cards, and you'll have to do some rearranging. Then you'll refill them. So the cards, first you can take out the reference cards. So this one teaches you how to set up for a 2-person game. And this has the opposite side reference for a 2-player game. This one says what different cards there are. And the opposite side of that, it has the basic rules. And I'll explain those in a minute, and then 2 extra. But the cards have numbers here on the bottom. So you can put them, there's start at 1 point, and then numbers. So those are all going to this deck. Starting with chapter 2 or part 2, these cards all start with 2 point and then numbers. And then the third grouping start with part 3 and then numbers. So you can see the numbers start at 301, 302, and all the way up to 348. So if your cards all get scrambled together, you can always sort them back out based on their numbers. So these go from 201 all the way up to 248. And it's important to do that, to have them in order when you start, because you start with chapter 1 and you need all of these cards for chapter 1. After you complete chapter 1, you'll go on to chapter 2, and you'll take out all of the cards between chapter 2 and chapter 3, and all of these cards are required for chapter 2. And then these additional cards are required for chapter 3. These 2 cards are required for chapter 4, and so on. So in chapter 5, it's 3 more cards, 4 more cards. And so each additional chapter is there. So thematically, it's a good idea to read the text here. Like when Mr. Bilbo Baggins of Bag End announced that he would shortly be celebrating his 11st birthday with a party of special magnificence, there was much talk and excitement in Hobbiton. So then you'll flip it over and you'll see the name of the chapter. And then these are the only characters you're allowed to use in that chapter. And if it has an asterisk next to it, those are required characters. And there's 2 kinds of victory conditions, short and long. So you'll find on here that a short is you have 1 round and all of the characters must complete their win condition. This is a cooperative game, a trick-taking game, where each of the characters will need to win their unique win condition. If it's victory condition long, you can play multiple rounds until all of the characters have won their win condition at least once. Okay, so for example, Frodo has to win in a 4-player game 2 or more ring cards, which is pretty easy. Frodo starts with the 1 ring, and that 1 ring card, whenever it is allowed to be played, it can choose to automatically win that trick. And Frodo leads the first trick. The opposite side of the Frodo card has the 3-player side. And on the 3-player side, Frodo needs to win 4 or more of the ring cards. And that is more challenging. On the solo mode, you use the 3-player side and Frodo has to win 4 of the ring cards. I have, since the beginning of the unboxing video, I played through all 18 tricks or all 18 chapters and was able to win them all. Chapter 12 was very, very difficult, but you'll find that out on your own. Okay, so Bilbo has to win 3 or more tricks. Now there's a hammer symbol down here at the bottom. That's things that happen during setup. So during setup, the player dealt the 1 ring gets to or is required to be Frodo. And you're not allowed to exchange the 1 ring, and you do lead the first trick. Gandalf is pretty easy to win. You just have to win 1 or more tricks. And you can add the lost card to your hand and exchange cards with Frodo. So when you're dealing cards, there'll be 1 extra card, and that card gets added to Gandalf's hand. So Gandalf has more flexibility on what to play. Now exchanging, so you can pass 1 card face down to another player. The other player looks at it and then passes 1 card back. And that can actually be the same card that was given, unless it says simultaneous exchange, in which case my assumption is that both players pass a card face down and you can't give it back. That is not as good, but it adds a new level of challenge. Pippin has to win the fewest tricks or tie for the fewest tricks, and has the ability to exchange with Frodo, Sam, and Merry. So if you are playing a 1-player game you actually use all 4 characters. If you're doing a 2-player game, you actually just have 2 of the characters, and played by people directly in their hands, and 1 additional setup for a virtual 3rd player. So the virtual 3rd player will have a setup like this, where they have 2 face-up cards with 1 face-down card, then 4 face-down cards, and then 4 face-up cards. And you're only allowed to play the cards that are not covered. And so that is how you determine which cards are available to be played. And then in the first stack, you have the Hill suit, which are cards 106 through 113, the Mountain suit, which are cards 114 through 121, the Shadow suit, cards 122 through 129, then the Forest suit, 130 through 137. Then you have the rings. So you've got 1 through 5, and they're cards 138 through 142, and whoever gets the 1 ring plays as Frodo. And then the other players then pick from the other characters, remembering that if it's got an asterisk next to it, at least 1 player has to pick that character. And when you're playing, you can't lead with rings unless somebody has already played a ring because they could not play another card. When somebody plays a suit, you're required to match that suit if you can, and if you can't, then you can play any other card, including one of the ring cards. And if you do play the 1 of rings, you can choose to win that trick no matter what. Okay. Now, when you're playing a solo mode, instead of dealing everybody all of their cards, what you do is you deal 4 cards to each of the players. So if this was shuffled, so Frodo gets 1 ring, say, assuming these were nice and shuffled, then you would give 1 to each. These would be face up because you're playing solo mode, but we're pretending they were actually shuffled because it wouldn't actually be like this. So now Gandalf, so there's 1 extra card that is considered the lost card, and Gandalf would add the lost card to Gandalf's hand. And then there's trading. So Bilbo doesn't get to trade, and Frodo can't exchange the 1, so Frodo has to hold on to the 1 ring. But Gandalf can exchange cards with Frodo, and Pippin can exchange cards with Frodo, Sam, or Merry. So it can be very helpful. It's like Merry doesn't want to win tricks, so Merry would get rid of the 7, which is way too high, and change it for something like a 1. And therefore it's easier to not win tricks. Now when you're setting up a multiplayer game, you're going to look at the card and see which one of the characters have asterisks on them, and then you put one of these tokens on those cards, and then after the cards are dealt, players must choose at least those 2 that have the tokens on them, and then the other ones are optional. So if it was a 3-person game, then one of them could go away. Now on a 4-person game, if there's only 4 characters, then everybody would get one character. On a solo mode, if there's only 4 characters here, then there would be just those 4 characters that would definitely be 4. But like on chapter 13, there's a long list of characters. So you could use the one you're required to use with an asterisk, Frodo, and then you pick 3 others. And then on the next round, you'll pick Frodo and any of the ones that either didn't make their goal or the others. But, so in a solo mode, in all the other chapters, the first thing you want to do is open the rule book to pages 14 and 15, 16 and 17, because you need to read the chapter specific questions. It's vitally important to read this before starting each of the chapters because it explains things that really are important. Things don't get used in the solo mode on some of the levels. And so this one explains that Pippin always accomplishes his goal if he wins 0 tricks, because 0 is always the fewest. So in the solo mode, you make one pile that has, starting with the 1 of rings, and then you make 4 hands of 4 cards. And then you would have 1 card that is the lost card that would get put aside unless you have Gandalf playing. So what will first happen is players will select, well, if it was a 3-person game and wasn't here, Gandalf would then, you could select which hand, based on your hand, you then select the characters. But in a solo mode, you then put out the hands and then you can decide which character you want. So you want to get a weak hand for Pippin. Oh, that's not bad. And so then you say, okay, well, Gandalf will take this hand. Or you could decide, no, I want this hand for Bilbo, and then Gandalf will take this hand. And then you take the lost card and add it to that hand. And then you do the additional text that has the hammer. So you get to exchange a card with Frodo. And or maybe Pippin wants to say, let's dump the 6 because that's too high, and let's change this with Frodo and take a 3 back instead. And then Frodo would start the hand and play an 8. Now it's important to have this token out there. On the monochrome side, that is that the rings have not been opened up yet. On the colorful side, that means somebody has played a ring card. So it starts with this side up. You take the tokens back because now the tokens here will designate characters that have made their goal. So if Frodo starts there, and then Bilbo doesn't have a Shadows card, so can play anything. Gandalf doesn't have a Shadows card, so we'll play the 3 of Rings. And Pippin does have a Shadows card. Luckily, it is less than the 8, so 8 is higher in rank than the 3. So Frodo wins this round, and the rings were opened up, so this flips over to this side. You put this here to show who won the round, and then you take this card and you play it next to Frodo, face up, so you know how many ring cards. Then take the additional cards here, and you can put those face up over there or face down over there. And then after the first trick, everybody gets a new card. And then you keep going until everybody has made their goals, or you lose. So Frodo will play a 6, Bilbo will play a 7, Gandalf has to match suit, so plays a 4, and Pippin always wants to lose, so plays a 7. And so Bilbo has won 1 of 3 tricks necessary for Bilbo to win. Then everybody gets a new card. Now, Bilbo won the last one and wants to win another trick, so plays the 8. And then Gandalf plays a 6, Pippin plays a 4, and Frodo plays the 7. Okay, so that means Bilbo held on to that and won the second trick. Very nice. And everybody gets a new card. And now, Bilbo wants to win one more trick. So plays a 5 of shadows. We get here, dumping a 4. And Frodo can play anything, decides to play, and let's go a 5 of forest. Okay, so Bilbo wins again. So Bilbo has now met the win condition, so that token goes on there, and Bilbo now wants to give away the lead to another player. So Bilbo will lead with a 1. Gandalf would like to win a round, so Gandalf plays an 8, Pippin plays a 5, and Frodo plays an 8. Okay, so therefore Gandalf won 1 or more tricks. So Gandalf's win condition has been met. Then everybody gets the last card. And, oops, shorted 1 card. There we go. So that is fine. So now Gandalf says, okay, I'm going to play a 4 of rings, because rings had already been opened up. And Pippin will play a card here. And Frodo wants to win 4 ring cards, so must play a ring. And then plays 1 more ring there to match the suit. And Frodo has the highest ring card. So Frodo has now collected 4 ring cards and has made the win condition. And now, as long as Pippin doesn't win 2 tricks, then everybody will have won. So Frodo can go here, 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 there, and then a 5, and then a 1, and the 1 can always, a 1 of rings can always choose to win no matter what, even if somebody had a higher card, or even if it was not a ring suit. And so Pippin won the least tricks, because got 0, and we have successfully completed the victory condition. Short victory condition meaning all characters made their goals. Okay, and then you would go to chapter 2, take chapter 2, and that introduces threat cards. So these are Black Riders 1 through 4. And some of the chapters will require you to have specific threat cards. So for instance, Sam will pull one of the threat cards, and then the win condition will be based on the value of the threat card. So if Sam pulls a 2, then would have to collect the 2 of hills in order to win. Okay, and all of the information that you need is on here. It's like Mary has to win 1 or 2 tricks. And so there are 4 threat cards in this deck. Later on, there will be threat cards that do different things. And that is the basic gameplay for the solo mode of Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. I approve. If you like hearts and other trick-taking games, and if you like puzzles to solve, then you should like this. Okay, be well. If you are a board game designer and would like your game given away as a play to win at FlaMinGoCon or added to our library, please reach out. Okay, hope to see you all in person at the next FlaMinGoCon. Be well.